welcome. I'm really happy to be able to share with you this chat, which was recorded live on Instagram between Sarah Manolescue and myself, and we covered all sorts of subjects around oil painting technique, colours, brushes, inspiration, our practice, our routine, and I'm so grateful to Sarah because she is an artist I've long admired. She does the most fantastic plein air oils and also still lives inside and out. They absolutely sparkle, and I find her so inspiring and great to chat to. So I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
I'm just waiting for Sarah to come in. Hopefully this will work. Yay! Hello! Fantastic. No worries. I don't think it was entirely your fault, Sarah. I think it was partly my tech, because I was on my phone and other people were saying the video wasn't coming. So I'm sorry, you're going to be a bit wobbly because I'm holding you in my hand. Anyway, we're here. Lovely to see you.
And you, how are you doing?
Really good, thanks. Yeah, really well. Yeah, I'm just had a quick woofed a quick bit of lunch, so I shan't be eating in public.
Okay. No popcorn then.
Yeah. How's things your end?
Yeah, good. Got one child at home with a sore throat, which isn't ideal after the school term just starting, but there we go.
Yeah, I suppose they get sent straight home, don't they, if they've got a sore throat? There's no blustering through that.
No, I rang the school and they said, no, keep him at home. If he's the same tomorrow, then you can send him in. They just don't want him sneezing and coughing all over everybody. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm getting a few messages from people. Hi, I'm going to be a bit ropey about responding to this because I'm so desperate to hear Sarah's pearls of wisdom. But I really appreciate you all joining, and we both do. So it's really
we really do.
And thanks a lot for hanging on in there with my initial tech problems. So, right. So, Sarah, I had an idea for how to start, which is as we're starting this, can I ask you about how you start a painting? Because I'm just imagining you rock up on site, on location, and you get out your blank canvas, and I'm thinking, what does Sarah do at this point? Because it's everybody's kind of pet nightmare.
Yeah. Well, obviously I've decided at the time I set up, I know what I'm going to paint. And I, up until recently, would sort of sketch out the composition roughly with my brush. But lately I've sort of gone straight in with blocks of colour, which I'm finding really freeing, and actually I think it turns out better when I do it that way. So I just start slapping it on.
Right, okay, so no line?
No. I mean, you know, it doesn't always work out, but that's the same. It's the same with any painting anyway. Every painting's an experiment. But yeah, it's just, I think sometimes if I do lines, it sort of contains me a little bit. So if I just slap it on, it works out better, and then I can all over the top.
Yeah, I really noticed that about your work. I think it really shows that you are happy. I don't know if it's a confidence or recklessness, but you're really happy to take risks. You seem very happy to kind of just go with your gut response to what's in front of you. Is that right?
Yeah. Totally. I think that's something I've developed over the years as I've got more confident, and I do have a sort of, I'm just going to go for it attitude, where I was a bit more tentative before, and also I think when I'm really under pressure to get it down, like if I'm painting a sunset or something, it tends to work out okay because I don't think about it. I just have it on, and it's an
I'm in awe. I'm in awe of anyone who can paint a sunset, and it always amazes me, like your how you get that luminous light when you use such thick buttery paint. I just honestly, I stare at them.
Oh, thank you.
That's really, so can I ask about your paint and your brushes? What sort of brushes do you use? Do you use bristle?
I just use the Pro Art acrylics range, I think they're called.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. They take a lot of abuse, so that's why I like them. And I'm not a big fan of hog brushes. I find the texture a bit too much. So because they're smoother, I really like that. And I use the rounds mostly because the sort of angle of my brush, it just, you know, when I'm doing that, and it just, they stand up to a lot of abuse. And I've tried other brands and things, and they seem to be my favorites.
And do you use, like, how many brushes do you use at one time? Do you have like one for lights, one for darks and cools and warms, or what do you you just use one from, please don't say
I'm so messy. I'm so messy, Gail. And also quite lazy. I don't like to change my brushes over a lot. Once I've got one and I'm comfortable with it, I try and use it as much as I can. And I will do my darks and stuff, and then I'll give it a little rinse of my terps, wipe it down, then I go in my lights.
Oh, really? Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
so you start with the darks then, like the proper way.
Well, I think so. I mean, every painting's different. Mostly I do go in with the darks first, or the mid-tones, and then I suppose the highlights come later. But I don't really have a set way of approaching a painting. I try to get some of it in before, like below the horizon line, before I put the sky in. But sometimes if the sky's really exciting and I know it's going to change, I go straight in with the sky. So every painting is a totally different process. I wing it.
Yes.
And
wow. And how do you deal with, you know, that is the universal problem with working from life, and you're you know, quickly from life like you do. How do you do this, you know, because the light can change in seconds, and it can go through, like, I know some artists have 2 on the go. Do you ever do that, or what's your top tip?
I don't tend to have 2 on the go. I will do paintings back to back, paint one and then do another one, then another one. But I don't tend to do 2 at the same time. If the light completely changes and the scene is just totally transformed to something else, I will probably stop it and leave it, or wipe it, start again. That tends to be the way I approach it. And
I know sometimes you've said in your recent ones, at least, that sometimes you touch them up a bit when you get back to the studio to bring back that thing that you noticed when you first looked. Is that what do you do?
Well, I try not to do that, and it's not always necessary. But I found with the ones I did earlier this week, looking out to the sea, there was a brilliant line of light on the water, on the horizon line. And when I was doing it in situ, because the painting was so wet, and, you know, it wasn't quite as vibrant as I wanted it to be. So I knew I had to let it sit for a bit and start to dry before I could go over the top. So only if I can't quite get what I want when I'm there, will I then touch it up in the studio. But other than that, it's as it was when I was.
Wow, it's amazing. And that's something that's developed with as your confidence has grown, is it? As well as your abandoning the kind of line sketch or the sketch at the beginning.
I think so. So when I first started painting plein air, I would work on a painting over a number of sessions. I'd say at least 3, and I keep going back and I build. And I suppose with that, I had the ability to tweak it as I went. But I find working alla prima in one session, it's so much more exciting, and you're sort of moment in time. So I think you really can tell, Sarah. You know, when you look at your feed, and I was looking at pictures to share from your feed, and everything that I you know, when I cut it, they're quite small images when it's on Instagram and you're putting it up on a story or something, and they all just sparkled. It was amazing, even from a distance. You know, when it was really diminished, you could still see that it's absolutely brilliant, and they seem so fresh and so unlaboured. It's absolutely brilliant, but I think it takes quite a bit of confidence, doesn't it, to do that and to relinquish one's you know, that sort of careful, meticulous and
security blanket.
I do fall back into that sort of old habit of being tentative and guarded and taking baby steps. And I think I have a little stone over myself and say, just go for it. Don't be scared. It's only a painting.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, you can wipe it away, you can put it in the bin. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think I might just write that down and tattoo it to the inside of my eyelids. What you just said. Doesn't matter, does it really?
No, it really doesn't. And I think because, you know, your time is valuable, you know this, you've got kids, you're trying to fit it in around the, you know, the family routine, and you want to make every minute count, and you don't want to waste time doing something that you're not going to be happy with.
No.
But you've just got to go in with an open mind and go for it, because then really exciting things happen, I think.
And Sarah, can I interrupt you? And because I feel that we're moving off the technicalities, and there's one last thing I wanted to ask you, which was sort of just a general background thing. So I'm just been experimenting with different sorts of whites, and I'm wondering what sort of whites you like, and also at the other end of the scale, do you use black in your paint? So, you know, what's your philosophy on those?
Okay. All right, well, I'll start with the whites. Always have titanium white in my palette, and my favourite one is the Jackson's titanium white.
Okay.
Because, I did a sort of a straw poll on Insta when I was trying to work out what white to try, because I was using one brand, I won't mention who it is, and I found it a bit dry and sticky. So I asked, and Jackson's was recommended to me by Hayley Jo Summers, and she said it was like,
well, the oracle has spoken, so yeah, I'd go with that.
She said it's like Greek yogurt, and it really is. It's a great paint to use. But also another white I have on my palette, not all the time, but I should have it on me all the time, but I forget it and leave it at home, is zinc white, which I find invaluable because it doesn't cool down the colour like titanium white can do.
And it's not as strong as it's not so overpowering when
No.
Is that the same as flake white, or is that a different thing again?
I don't know, I couldn't answer that question.
I'll have a look and then put it on the yes, so it's a little bit more creamy colour, is it, zinc white, or is it just a different
it just I suppose you'd have to use a hell of a lot of it to do what a tiny bit of titanium white would do, so you can be it just takes the edge off the colour in a different way. I just find it really useful, particularly if you want to soften a dark without it being too, you know, turn it too grey. Keep the
Okay, cool, because I know you use a lot of, you know, I've been looking, I've been really scrutinising your method, and I love the way you just do a tiny dab of a sparkly white, but then it doesn't look as though it is neat white. It looks as though you've warmed up those
very rarely white. It's always got something else mixed in, a bit of cadmium, yellow lemon, always works quite nicely.
Oh right, okay, I'll use that.
Or you can take it sort of a bluey white with a bit of Kingsbury Deep, or sort of orangey white. It just depends. You just have to really look at the sparkle. And if you really look at it, you can see which way it's leaning, and then a tiny bit of that in, and it makes it dazzling.
That's really helpful, thank you. Now I'm going to have to, I'm sorry about this slightly, I hope I'm not making you feel seasick. It's because I've abandoned my carefully propped up phone and I'm holding this, so I'm just going to, so what else I was going to ask you, about, I know you go painting with some amazing artists, and I wanted to ask you about how you are with, collaborating with people. How does it feel when you go out on a painting mission with other people? It's just incredible. I love looking at the work when you and others have been to the same place and you tag each other. It's so nice to see your different styles, and you can see that it was the same light but different. Really interested in that experience.
Okay. Well, my most recent experience was my trip to Cornwall with my mate Georgina Potter. George and I get on very, very well anyway, and we are inspired by
She's
the same.
Watching, by the way.
Hi,
Georgina.
Yes, we're inspired by the same sort of subject matter, but because our work is so different, it always turns out very different. And and we've got the same energy levels. So in Cornwall, you know, we paint all day from like 9 till 4, go back to our apartment, crash through, have a cup of tea, then look out the window and realise that the sunset was amazing. So we dash out again. So I think we help to sort of push each other to keep going in that respect, because, you know, these painting holidays are great to have that focus and that time, but they are intense. And I just think it's nice to share it with someone, and you can stop and have lunch and have a chat. And if you're struggling with something, you can say, why is this not going right? Can you give me, you know, what do you think? And get their objective view on it. And also, you know, being an artist is quite a lonely profession. And I think if you can, you know, that's why Instagram is so great, because you can chat with other artists and share ideas. But then when you're painting together, it's sort of an extension of that. And I've made some great mates through Instagram and painting with people, and it's made the whole career a different experience now. I love it.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. That's so nice, because I think those trips away, you have, it's hard one time, isn't it? Because, you know, like when you've got a family, and especially with lockdown and all that going on, to actually have, I mean, it just sounds idyllic, going away with a friend and like painting from morning till night with a, you know, quick break for lunch. How wonderful, because I don't know how you find it, but I'm finding it really hard to do anything except sketch when I know that an interruption is guaranteed to come within the next hour, even if it's not just, you know, me going around pestering people to do their homework, or you know, really good to just get away. I think so. And it was it's obviously hard to organise it, because you have to get childcare sorted and all of that, but it just does give you that uninterrupted time to just focus on what you're there to do. So and do you ever reach saturation point, or do you just think, I want to do more of this when you go away?
I think we sort of think, oh god, we're absolutely pooped now, we've had enough, we need to stop, and then we'd have an hour or so of downtime, and then the itch would come back and we'd want to head out. We were very lucky with the weather. We thought we were going to be hit hard by Storm Francis, but we were fine. So and then when you come to the end of the holiday and you go home, it's like, well, what am I going to do now? Because you're in sort of painting mode and you can't switch it off, and it's
Oh wow! But you do some pretty intrepid stuff. I'm sure I've seen in the past you posting snow. Did you go out in the snow?
I have.
Did you?
Tended to be all sort of local stuff because I couldn't get anywhere in the car. But no, I love painting snow. It's a special time. We just didn't get any.
It really is. It really is. So what about your future? Do you have a sense that you know? Because I think your work, I see it developing, but it's a very steady. Oh, hi Hugh. Hugh's just joined. He's a really lovely artist friend. He does fantastic landscapes. Hi. So I've seen your paintings develop, your style. I can see a small incremental change as the months go on. Do you have are you just sort of a twig on the water waiting to see where it goes, or do you have certain things that you want to crack in the future?
I think I don't really have a plan. My style, I can see it changing, the way I paint and the subject matter I choose changing. It's not intentional. I now paint on a relatively small scale, and I keep saying to myself, you should paint bigger, you should paint bigger. And then I sort of have a little check and think, well, do I have to? If small works for me, do I need to go bigger? You just sort of feel like you want to cover all bases. And, you know, some people in the market to buy a small painting, but others want something big. But I don't necessarily have to appeal to everybody.
No, very true.
True to what I want to do and what makes me happy, I guess.
Yeah, well, painting big makes some of those things that you mentioned even harder, doesn't it? If you're on a huge landscape, you know, if you're on a huge canvas, then what you were talking about, you know, responding instantly to a sunset where you've got, you know, I don't know, is it 20 minutes, or I don't know how you bang them out. And I don't mean to make it sound like it's a trivial thing, but you know, I guess you would have to keep coming back, wouldn't you, if you had a big canvas, or just use a massive brush.
Yeah, and I have tried sort of blowing up paintings in the studio. But I just feel like, for me, something gets lost in translation, and I always happier with the smaller original version than the bigger version. I think because when I did the smaller one, I was there, it was all just sort of happening, and it was intuitive, and I think about it more when I'm in the studio, and it's just not exciting to, I think.
Yeah, I get that sometimes when if I can't leave it, like if I've done a live drawing and I get home and I think, oh, the nose looks a bit wrong or something. I'm like, I could feel myself picking up the putty rubber, and I kind of like, I've got this kind of monkey on my shoulder saying, "Don't do it! You know, you're meddling. Stop meddling. Stay true." Oh, yeah.
And you can't stop. Yeah, it's so hard.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my friend Yeside has joined as well. Hello, Yeside. Sorry, excuse me, Sarah.
No, I was just going to say, with your life drawing, because obviously you do different sort of timed sessions, don't you? You do the really short ones, and the longer ones are sort of 20 minutes. Which ones do you prefer?
Well, I love them all. I'm really, I just love it all, Sarah. Even you know, beyond life drawing. So I think it all has its charm. You know, there was a Lara, London Academy of Realist Art, I think, that had a branch in Bristol, which sadly has closed. And there I learned the sort of, you know, this sight size kind of bar drawing style type thing in evening classes. And so I really love that. I love, you know, there's a bit of me, I quite like needlepoint and knitting, and it appeals to that side of me that really likes, you know, a long, slow project. I really like that, you know, in those kind of drawings. So the longest I've done is kind of where maybe it was like 8 weeks, and they were 3 or 4 hour, you know, at a time. But then, you know, I love all the quick warm-ups, and you get much more dynamic poses because the models don't have to worry about holding a pose for a sensible amount of time. And then it was when I was drawing the model Annalise in Paris. Oh, hello, Dottie.
Sorry, if I don't pick her up, she'll just wind up me.
She couldn't last then. She couldn't.
No. Yes, thank you.
So with regards to life drawing, I think it's when Anais, then she announced that she was going to do a moving pose, and I just thought, oh, what am I going to do with this? And actually really enjoyed it. So since then, obviously in lockdown, we've all been, you know, those of us who aren't just intrepid plein air oil painters like you, have been looking for all sorts of alternatives, and that's so I found this kind of YouTube doing freeze frame from moving YouTubes also. So I think it all feeds in. I find like you know, the quick ones help with the long ones because it means you can start with the gesture and not lose that. And then the long ones help you, you know, your skill at quickly rendering and judging values and things like that. So I find it's I love it all. Sorry, that's not very helpful.
No.
Do you draw? Do you sketch and draw?
Not as much as I probably should. I get into the habit for a while, and I draw a lot, and then I get out the habit. I think because my true passion is the painting side of it, and I feel sort of drawing with the paint. But yeah, I should do more. But if I do sketch, it always tends to be members of the family or the doggy.
Oh, yes, you've done some of your kids, haven't you? I've seen those. I would just, on behalf of your adoring public, I would just like to challenge the word should. I think you're doing just fine with the amount that you're doing.
it's
But
just, you know, it's supposed to be the foundation, isn't it, of painting. You're supposed to, you know, get the drawing side of things sorted. And yeah, I just feel like I should, you know, when people say, oh, can we look through your sketchbooks? And I'm thinking, there's not a lot to see, really. There's a few, but a bit thin on the ground. But I suppose anything goes, doesn't it? I mean, however you get to where you want to be is okay.
Yeah. It's nice to have that freedom, isn't it? It's nice not to be, you know, not to be too saddled with the expectations of other people. I think it's really, you know, it's really liberating, and it makes for very honest work when it's, you know, I love both. I love working on commissions and doing things sort of to order. I really like the challenge of that. But then on the other hand, I think there's nothing like that sort of, you know, gut feeling of oh, Yesida, I don't know if you can see the comments, but Yesida has said with you on that one, Sarah. So you got
not alone then. That's good.
Is that the sketching? Is that? Yeah.
So I have to say, I have just quickly a huge admiration for people that can sketch and do such beautiful sketches like you. I mean, I've always been completely blown away by the sketches you've put together. They're just incredible. So.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's really lovely. I have a lot of great inspiration from the gram, you know, and other places. But yeah, I think we all feed off each other, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the beauty of Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's a question which I normally ask towards the end, but I have a suspicion that it might be quite a long answer, so I'm going to get it in now, which is, what have you got lined up? So what's your, you know, in this sort of short term, assuming that school people go back to school, stay at school, and hopefully things stay open. What have you got lined up?
Okay, well, imminently I'm taking part in Surrey Open Studios, which launches next Saturday, the 19th of September, and my studio will be open to visitors that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 11 till 5, and then the following weekend, the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then the final weekend where we end on the 4th of October, the Friday, Saturday and Sunday as well. So I have got a lot to do in preparation for that. My studio is a little bit untidy.
And so it's a working studio then?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I took part in it for the first time last year, and I made my studio pretty much immaculate, and it was.
I saw it looked incredible. Well, it was quite new, wasn't it?
It wasn't really lived in yet. Totally lived in now, but I'm sort of torn. I don't think I want to make it as tidy as before, because I want people to see the workings of it and how I sort of live in it. So I'm not going to worry about that as much as I did. But obviously with COVID-19 and everything, there are bigger considerations, making sure that visitors feel safe coming into my studio space and all of that. So I need to think about that. Dottie, please be quiet. Sorry, my dog is running at me. So
she can come back on the screen. She's very welcome.
Well, she can, but she's become the most high maintenance dog in recent weeks. So she's whining at me for no reason, really, just because she can.
Having people around. And so is this so it's a trail, is it? The Surrey Open Studios? How does it work?
So there's probably, I forget the numbers, I think it's 100 to 200 artists across Surrey taking part, but we can develop trails within that. So if people want to hit certain local studio spaces, we sort of club together, and then we can direct people to other members of the trail. So I formed a trail called the Punch Bowl Trail with 3 other ladies, Libby Daniels, who does some beautiful ceramics, Orlando Broom, she does beautiful floral paintings with beautiful colour, and Susie, and I can't remember how to pronounce her surname, anyway, she's
welcome to my
Susie
world.
at the old studio. That's what she does. Susie at the studio, and she makes these amazing earrings out of resin. And again, it's a real celebration of colour. And beautiful shapes, and she also designs fabrics, and very clever ladies.
Wow.
So, and we all live.
And they're all local to you, are they? So right. Okay.
So that's what.
Oh, that's nice. And people can buy work straight off the wall, can they, in this situation?
Absolutely, yes. I have a selection of framed and unframed work available, still lifes and plein air pieces. And I'm also hoping to have some Christmas cards. Oh
wow!
Right. Sorry, I just need to give Dottie something she's after. There you go. Go and chew that. Sorry. Yeah, so something for everybody, hopefully. But I'm happy for people just to come and have a nosy and have a look.
Yeah. Oh, it's lovely to have people looking at your work, isn't it? I think it's such a luxury to hear, and I'm always struck by some people's reticence to, most people seem to start their conversation with, "Oh, I'm I don't really know about this." This usually starts with an apology that they're not somehow qualified to look, or I don't. But I just think it's so brilliant having people see your work and respond, and there's you strike me as quite an outgoing, naturally generous artist who, I kind of identify with that sort of feeling that, neither of us is a sort of ivory tower type, although I do find art trails, and in Dubai I used to do an art fair thing, and I do get the fear sometimes with that, especially at setup, but and then someone lovely walks in and you forget, don't you?
Yeah, no, totally. It can be a bit scary putting yourself out there, but most people come with good intentions and have nice conversations, and you sort of buzz off other people, and it's exciting to talk about. Much like I'm talking to you now, it's nice to talk about what I do and why, and the story behind it. And I think now more than ever, collectors are finding artists through social media channels, and they want to have that direct relationship. They want to know the artist behind the paintings, or drawings or whatever. And for me certainly, I love having that direct contact with a collector. It just it's the icing on the cake, really. That
one-to-one. So this is on your newsletter, isn't it? I've seen that you've mentioned the dates and the location on your newsletter. Okay.
But if anybody wants any information, just get in touch with me and I will tell you what you want to know.
Brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. Right, well, I don't want to outstay my welcome as that lovely Dottie.
Just quickly, what have you got on the horizon, Gail? What's your next plan?
So I've got, I'm going to do some more with those dancers. That was a bit of a surprise hit, so I'm just going to go with it. I was just really experimenting around shape and form, and trying to capture movement. So I've been looking at different ways of conveying movement, but still just doing this kind of live drawing from live. And a couple of people have contacted me who would be happy to model live, do some moving. So I find that exciting and terrifying in equal measure. So I'll probably go for that. I think a friend of mine, Tracy, she once very wisely said, whenever she's in a room where someone makes a proposition looking for a volunteer for some really terrifying thing, she said you can be tumbleweed go through the room and everyone kind of sits up, and then she just finds her hand going up. So I'm a bit like that. I do quite like. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to volunteer for, but anyway, so I'd like to follow up those. That's really nice. And I'm bracing myself for the Christmas rush. So I think that the dog portraits have started coming in thick and fast, or at least the inquiries. And I'm always tittivating my website, so that's like a constant joy. And I've been experimenting with Google AdWords as well, so I'm just still kind of dipping my toe in the water with that. It's sort of, you know, the sordid subject of marketing, but I'm trying it with soft toy portraits with Soggy Rabbit, which is a different persona that I operate under, and just to try and get the hang of the mechanism and how that works, and this kind of like cost per click and creating adverts to see whether there's any mileage in it, in just, you know, as a different way of serving my offering up.
Keep us updated on how that goes, because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, well, so far it's not working brilliantly, I have to say. Instagram and other sources are far better for me, but I think there is it's definitely got possibility. So, and I love playing around with that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well done.
and thank you. And I'm hoping I would love to do some more of these conversations with other artists of all sorts of disciplines. So if you know anyone, or if anyone who's watching is interested in joining, please get in touch with me. Hopefully it wasn't painful.
No, not at all. No, it's a pleasure. No, you've always loved talking to you, Gail. So.
Oh, you are lovely. The feeling is mutual. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shall we wind up?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I just thinking, when I was talking about colour, you asked me about whether I use black, and I never answered that.
Yes. Yeah.
So no, well, I do have on my palette blue black, Daler Brownie blue black. I use it very sparingly, but sometimes I find to get that really sort of inky blue of the distant colours on the horizon in the landscape, it just sort of knocks back ultramarine a little bit. But that's the only.
So you mix it with ultramarine. Yeah.
But straight black, no. And generally, I tend to mix my darks rather than using it straight out of the tube. Yeah. So,
and what do you use for that? Burnt umber and ultramarine, or
burnt sienna, ultramarine blue, and sometimes brownie rose, or sometimes I might do it with Viridian. Depends. Or just and see. Yeah.
Well, that we've opened up a whole other rich vein.
I know.
Do you use, is it phthalo blue?
Never. It's an unknown entity to me. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it does. I hear people talking about it, but I don't know anything about it. Do you use it?
I was hoping you knew. No, I don't know. I thought you might. Right.
I have to find someone who does and ask them.
Yeah.
On here.
I know some Sarah. There's a Sarah Freeman. She does. I think she's reflected. Apparently, it stains your brushes. And really? I recently inherited my lovely granny's brushes, and they're stained. I'm thinking Granny must have used it. She died a long time ago. But the brushes have found their way to me, so I'm really happy. And I must admit, I smell them, and they do smell of her cupboards.
Do they? Oh,
that's but yeah, they're quite. I'm not sure, I haven't got them here, but they've got that green, and I think I probably would quite like to try. So, what's your favourite colour then? What's your favourite oil painting colour?
Oh, so I'm just looking here because I got a list of my palette colours. I'm trying to think.
By the way, Georgina says, all I know is that the phthalo colours get everywhere and never come out.
Yeah. No, I think I don't even try because I get it everywhere, I think. But no, maybe we should experiment. So George, do you use that in your? She must use it for her sea colours, I think. I'm thinking, maybe. But no. So my favourite colour. Do I have one? I do love King's Blue Deep, and Viridian is quite. Sorry, which one do I?
What?
King's Blue Deep. King's Blue Deep is a real strong contender, but Viridian is one I haven't had in my palette very long. Maybe for the last year I've been using it. I couldn't be without that. Couldn't be without Viridian.
Georgina says I use phthalo turquoise, and Sarah Freeman agrees with Georgina about the messy phthalo colours. So Viridian, yeah, I've recently started. I think some people mix black with, is it Viridian and a dark red, like
I like Alexander
a liver.
or something.
Yes, yeah,
I think they do. But I find because when I go abroad, like when I painted in Greece, I've always had a tube of cobalt teal in my bag for the watercolor out there. But actually, you can get something pretty close if you use Viridian and a bit of a sort of cadmium yellow lemon or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe probably zinc white so you don't zap the color away. I just find it really versatile. I used it quite a lot of it. Yeah. And I think George does too, because she borrowed some of mine when we went to Cornwall because she didn't have hers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you give her like a really meager, or did she take the whole tube and just squeeze it onto her palette?
She took a few squeezes. She didn't, to luck her. But I don't mind. She's my pal. She can have my paint.
Yeah. I think judging by the results, it was worth it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining, Sarah. I really appreciate it, and really appreciate that your what's going on in the background isn't as calm as that you're like a swan.
With the whiny dog. Yeah.
Oh, lovely Dottie. Okay. Oh, well, thanks so much. It's really nice to see you. Have a great end of week and weekend.
You too. You too, Gail. Yeah. Thanks. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
And I'll put this on my Instagram TV, and then if you want, you've got access to it.
Okay. Wonderful. Lovely.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. If you want to see more videos, please subscribe to this channel so you can catch the new ones when they come out. For information on my shop and commissions, check my website, and I post daily work and stories on Instagram. And if you want to watch a video straight away, check this one out. Thanks again, you guys keep me going. I really appreciate your support. See you soon.